I watered down. I'm not British.
Well, we do hope I know British, and it will be unique in its own way.
So, Tom Holland too? Just kidding, I love Tom Holland.
So, fellow Texan, what is it like doing your first one? You've done a convention before. You haven't done one of these big multi-fandom monstrosity. Is it bad for me to say monstrosity about this show? You haven't done one of these until this. What has it been like with just the oceans of people out there? What's the experience been like for you so far?
Yeah, well, Stargirl premiered May of 2020. So for the first 2 seasons, I haven't gotten to do what you traditionally think of when you get cast as a superhero, like, oh, I'm gonna get to go to conventions and meet a bunch of people. So getting to finally be here and meet people that have watched the show that I've now been working on for 3 years has been, first of all, so validating, fulfilling, but also exceeded my expectations. I was a bit nervous to meet people, but everyone had just been so nice and welcoming. So I'm like, I want to do more, this is fun.
So the show premiering in the thick of the pandemic, and we've got a second season of it that's been out now, we got season 3 coming and everything. In the way that you were able to see the kind of love that's been out there for this show, that not all of our superhero shows have been surviving of late. We are glad that we've gotten as much Stargirl as we've gotten so far. What was it like to the extent that you read the comments, or maybe you had the comments vetted for you, about what people were saying about the show, the love for the show that was out there that you couldn't go out there and see people in person to get?
Yeah, Jeff Johns, who's our showrunner, he's been part of DC Comics for such a long time, so he knows how, what's the right word, opinionated the people are who read comics.
Enthusiastic.
I love that. I love it. No, I think you should be opinionated. If you love these characters, you have a certain idea of how they should be portrayed. So be opinionated. There's nothing wrong with that. Enthusiastic's great too. So he kind of prepared me for the worst. He's like, so you might get some negative comments, but it's actually been much more positive than I expected. Maybe it's because I was preparing for the worst, which is possibly pessimistic. But it's worked out for me because it's been extremely positive, and I do think I'm blessed in that there hasn't been a lot of interpretations of Stargirl. Very few, just guest stars on DC Legends, but never a show starring her. No pun intended. So I do think I have that on my behalf as well.
Teenagers are so much more complicated than I think a lot of live action media treat them until, the 3rd or 4th season of something when they're like, oh, okay, we're going to not just have this person be a trope or stereotype of some sort. What has it been like getting to know your castmates who, you're making this show under some of the most difficult circumstances you could possibly be making it. What's it been like forging that bond with your besties, your frenemies, your coworkers that you're making the show with?
Yeah, well, talking about getting to the high school aspect of the show, it's actually one of my favorite parts about the show because high school is such an interesting time of life. You're figuring yourself out, all that good stuff, and then also figuring out how to be a superhero on top of that. I feel like that's a very interesting dynamic that's been fun to explore. And then as for navigating this with my wonderful cast, I love them. I'm not just saying that, getting up here and giving what you want to hear, but truly, I'm such a good friend with all of them. The girl who plays Wildcat, Yvette Monreal, she's my best friend in real life. She'll probably be my maid of honor. I tell people that all the time, but it's true.
I guess we have an announcement.
Oh no, Dylan's over there going, what? That's my boyfriend for 5 years. No, anyway.
Shout out to Dylan.
I'm sweating.
I didn't mean to give you an anxiety attack. But
Thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
No.
Free of charge.
But seriously, these people I get to work with, and mind you, there's days we're spending 16 hours. I've had a 20-hour day where I got there at 7 a.m. and wrapped at 4 a.m. the next day. So you see these people at their highest and their lowest, and to have this family that you can rely on when you're at those lows has been so wonderful. From our leader, Jeff, to the whole JSA, Angelica, Cameron, Everyone's been so lovely. Luke Wilson, who plays my dad, fellow Texan.
Also from North Texas.
Yes, we love the Texans. He's so great getting to learn from him because he's done it all, man. He's done the Wes Anderson.
He's done Mike Judge.
Yeah.
Geography, just everything.
Yeah, Legally Blonde. Like when I first met him, I was so nervous because I grew up loving Legally Blonde. But I did my research. I got on Google and I'm like, okay, he's from Texas. I'm going to use this as like my segue for us to be friends. And I meet him, and literally the first thing I said was, "Go Dallas Cowboys!" And he just like, First thing I said out of my mouth, not like, "Hi, my name is Brec." I was literally just like, "Dallas Cowboys!" But I mean, he's from Texas, so he received that fine. We're great pals now, so I guess it worked.
He's like, oh, okay, you're obviously actually from Texas because
Yeah.
only one of us would be precisely that.
Chips and queso.
Hey.
Yay.
I am actually curious who your favorite non-Stargirl character on Stargirl is and why.
Ooh.
Oh, your bestie's gonna hear about this if you don't say well. Okay.
Oh no, Yvette, I'm so sorry. I actually love our villains. I think the ISA is so cool. Also, all the actors who play the ISA, you know, sometimes lines in superhero shows, I get it, it's a fictional universe, but sometimes they're like really far out there, and somehow they're able to like ground it, and I'm like, how do you do that? Like, how do you, going back to Gentleman Ghost, that's always like my go-to, but like, how do you say Gentleman Ghost so seriously? And they do such a good job, so I love our villains.
Who was the scariest villain in Stargirl you had to go up against?
Okay, Eclipso. That season 2, our main villain, Nicholas Terabit, who plays Eclipso, he was a wonderful human being, super creepy on set. He showed up, and he's over there like in the corner. We're doing this big fight scene. It's the first time we see Eclipso, like he comes out of the diamond, and he's on set, and he's like getting into his character. He's like in the corner, and he's making all these like noises and screeches, and he gets up to do the scene, and everyone just goes quiet. And you could have heard a pin drop. Because it's such a big character, he had to do so much to get into, like, changing his body physically. He was in prosthetics from head to toe, just so much. So he was definitely, like, intimidating and scary to do scenes with, but wonderful actor.
What has been your favorite episode of Stargirl?
Ooh, that's a great question. I really loved season 1, episode 10. I cried when I filmed it. I cried when I watched it. I think it shocked a lot of people because I think a lot of shows are scared to kill off main characters, and we did. And so I liked that aspect of it because they're like, we're not scared, we'll do it. I really love that episode.
Will Stargirl ever cross over with any other CW show?
I sure hope so. Like soon, yeah, I'm serious. When I first got cast, there had been like talks about it. There was a time where there was like an email chain going on, like, okay, we're thinking Flash crossover in this episode and Alita go to Vancouver, and I was like so pumped, and then it didn't happen. I'm like, okay, I'm fine, we're fine. I very much hope so, but like I said, I control nothing, so we'll just have to see.
Right over here, Cobra Khan.
What advice would you give to a young actor?
For me, my advice is always get into acting class. It'll teach you skills. It'll teach you if you actually like it. I find a lot of people like the idea of it, but when they actually start doing it, they're like, oh, no, not for me. So that's how I started. I took out an acting class here in Texas for 3 years. And then through the connections I made through my acting school, I ended up getting an LA agent and went out there and got to start auditioning. And so that's always my advice. Look for like a local theater group, local acting class, there's improv classes, just to really start building your skills and also building connections.
What has that experience been like in this first day that you've been doing it here and the one other convention that you've done? I'm sure to an extent you were anticipating this, but what was the experience really like?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone has just been so kind and welcoming and so personable, which I feel like sometimes struggle with feeling objectified sometimes. And I am when it comes.
You're a product. We're going to sell her this way. We're going to sell her that way. We're going to dress her up like this.
Right, which like I signed up to be an actor, and I love being an actor. But that's sometimes something I struggle with, and so getting to be here and feel just so human and so personable with everyone, that's been a lovely surprise. This is kind of addicting. I want to keep meeting people and keep hearing their stories and what Stargirl means to them and how they connected with it, and almost giving me a purpose of what I do. So it's exceeded my expectations in every way, truly.
So yeehaw, one more time for Miss Brec.